A look there at one of the newest and best ballparks in all the land.
It's the summer of 2010, and here I am reviewing a new PlayStation 2 game. Who is still buying games for this system? Speaking of things I don't understand and consoles that were outdated even when our president was a senator, this is MLB 10 The Show for the PS2. And to be honest with you, this is a game I wouldn't have considered fun if you showed it to me 4 years ago, let alone now. I would have been much more interested in your time-traveling DeLorean.
Hard to the left side. Foul.
But that's just me. That's my personal reaction to games that turn my favorite sport and my summertime obsession into a boring, convoluted, and overly detailed exercise in pseudo-realism. But to be objective and most importantly fair to the game's intended audience, MLB 10 The Show is good at what it does. But the hardware limitations of the PS2 are more crippling now than ever before. They're really antithetical to what the game wants to be, and to be frank, what was already a boring game subsequently feels downright archaic because of them.
Akinori Iwamura will stand in for the first time here.
But beneath its outdated exterior is a solid game of MLB The Show, including all the needless complexities people apparently think they need in a baseball video game. If you're into games that make the science of baseball seem more like a 2-hour lecture than an episode of Bill Nye the Science Guy, MLB 10 The Show is the game you've been waiting for on pins and needles since MLB 09 The Show.
Swinging a hard liner to center field. McCutcheon is there.
This year's version has all the modes and options that make MLB The Show more a baseball simulator than a game. The franchise mode, the Road to the Show mode, which allows a created player to ascend from AA all the way to the big leagues, the managerial mode, it's all there, even in the PS2 version, and it all works. The only difference is that it looks awful compared to its next-gen counterparts.
On home run balls, you really can't throw a better backdoor breaking ball than that one right there. That's just one where you have to tip your cap and move on.
Here's the thing, sports franchises like The Show and Madden, NBA Live, older releases in these series haven't aged well since shifting to 3D. And that's one of the reasons their fans buy updated versions every year. The old versions don't feel old school, they just feel old. And even though it's only been out for a few months, MLB 10 The Show feels the same way on the PS2, because its aging process has been accelerated by its really outdated hardware. And after 10 years, the PS2 is finally showing us it might be time to put it on the shelf for good. To be honest with you, I think one of the reasons I don't like MLB The Show and games like it is that they operate under the delusion that baseball requires a textbook to figure out. And the thicker and more detailed that textbook is, the better the game will be. A proposition, of course, predicated on the let's be as realistic as possible ethos. Which, in turn, is predicated on the equally absurd notion that realism automatically equates fun. You see, the truth is, baseball is way more complex than even this game thinks it is. I love the sport. I've been playing it my entire life, and I'm even a season ticket holder for my hometown's optimistic Pirates. And I can tell you that even now, as a young adult, I'm still learning about the nuance of the game, the meaning behind the numbers. There's way more to baseball than you're ever going to be able to recreate in a baseball game, at least not in a fun way. Yet MLB 10 The Show tries, and the result is 7 pages in the instruction manual devoted entirely to the game's controls. I mean, seriously, they needed 7 pages to explain how to control this game. An almost hilariously sad fact that's a microcosm of everything that's wrong with MLB The Show as a concept. Personally, I believe in a simple rule. Video games should make things easier than they are in reality. Despite the best efforts of video games, I'm not convinced flying a spaceship or jumping on a flying turtle is as easy as the gaming industry portrays it to be. That's a good thing. And games should make real activities, if they're going to bother mimicking them at all, seem easier and more fun than they really are. Otherwise, why wouldn't you just go outside and do the real thing? After playing MLB 10 The Show for the PS2, I'm left asking that question, among several others.
Starts him out with a changeup off.
If you're into realistic sports games with lots of complexity and detail, and you're only equipped with a PS2, this is definitely a game for you. Well, it's easier to teach someone how to swing a bat in real life than in a game like this, not to mention a lot less pretentious and a lot more fun.
Swing and a miss as he ramps up.
Well, and you see where this pitch is. This is by design, and they know this guy's susceptible to a pitch up there, but he comes through anyway.